Hello, hello. I want to talk about that the grass is not always greener. Being lived in America and also from Sweden, born and raised in Sweden, moved to America when I was 21. So I want to do a little comparison against what's good and what's bad, and just start with the mortgages. This is all about my own experience. First off, I lived 18 years in America, so almost most of my adult life actually, and now I'm back in Sweden. But in this episode, we are going to talk about mortgages in America and Sweden. And if you really can get a better home living in America, like you see in the movies and TV shows and all that, you see all the big and fancy things. So let's get into it. We're going to use the median household income in both countries for a max mortgage that we can take in both countries. In an earlier episode, I went over salaries, what you are making in America and Sweden, the median, like all people obviously don't make the same, but the average in both countries. And in America, it is $74,580 for a family. This is a family median, so it's for both mom and dad then, or for two people, what they are making together. And in Sweden, the average is $68,935. So with these more salaries, combined salaries, you can get a max mortgage and in America for a house for about $318,951. While in Sweden, you can actually get a mortgage for $344,292, including your down payment. So you are making a little bit less in Sweden as an average, but you can still get more mortgage than you would have got in America on more average salary for a house. So right there is a little different. Now also house standards and stuff like that is also different, of course. Where you're buying a house, cities are more expensive than suburbans. All of that obviously plays a role in both countries. But let's say that we also have a mortgage loan interest that's about 6.07% in America right now for a 30-year mortgage. So you lock in your mortgage in America for 30 years. And meanwhile, those 30 years, you can refinance and get a lower rate if the lower rates are out, but that costs money also to refinance a loan. But you are not stuck with the 6% 0.07. If a lower rate shows up, you can refinance and get that lower rate, but like I said, it costs money. But otherwise, your rate cannot change. It's stuck for 30 years, so the bank can't just all suddenly our rates it's going to be higher. This is now in 2024, these rates. In Sweden, the rate is around 4.99%. And you don't lock it in for 30 years like you do in America. I think the max you can lock in Sweden, if I'm not wrong, is 10 years. I'm not sure about if you can refinance or not. I'm not going down that road. I just know that a flexible rate is usually what you do in Sweden, and then they can fluctuate around. So right now, there's a lot of people, because the mortgage rates are getting so high in Sweden that they haven't seen this before, and people can't afford paying for their mortgages anymore, because now a mortgage can be almost like $1,000 more amount because their interest rate is now 4.99% instead of 2%. So that's a little harsh right now. But property taxes in America is about 1.10% depending on your state now. In Sweden, it is 0.75%. but with a max cost of $907 a year. So that means they cannot charge any more than $907 a year for a house. Doesn't matter how much a house is worth. But in America, it is no max. They don't have a max. So you will pay that 1.10%, depending on the state, every year for your property taxes. Sweden also have a zero property tax for newly built homes for the first 15 years. You don't have that in America. The property tax for the American house will be, for these saying that we are now getting a mortgage of $318,000 in America. Your property taxes will then be about $3,508 a year just in property taxes, depending on your states, but let's say if it was 1.10%. Also in Sweden, for that same house that you can get for $344,000, you would pay, the property tax would be $2,585 if you do 0.75%. But just because the max ceiling to pay is $907, that will be your cost. So you will only pay $907 in property taxes a year, while in America you're paying $3,508. And house insurance in America for home value of $318,000 is about $2,777 a year. Also depending on company, depending on state, but that's the average. And in Sweden, it's about $610 a year. That's also depending on what you insure, what you're gonna insure, how big your house is, and yada yada. Like, it's a lot of things, but that's the average costs. And then if you buy an apartment, obviously all of these figures are all going to be different. It's not going to be the same as buying a house. In America, there's usually an HOA in neighborhoods. An HOA, or homeowners association, fee is a self-governing organization in common interest. Communities where homeowners collectively pay fees to maintain the units or neighborhood. HOAs are typically run by a president, and that is a homeowner, and then unpaid volunteers who are selected to a board of directors that oversees the HOA's management. This is to make the neighborhood nice, and they're taking care of things, and just to keep a good neighborhood, I guess, or like upkeep and stuff. Each HOA is different from different neighborhoods. But the average cost for this fee is $100 a month on top of everything else. And that's just the HOA fee for things. In America, you pay a 20% down payment on your house. With the house price of if you buy a house in America for $318,000, the down payment would be $63,790. So if you pay less than that, you will have to pay an extra fee every month on your mortgage. That is called a mortgage insurance. So if you don't have 20%, for people that don't have that much money, you can put down, I think 5% is the less you can put down then, but I'm not sure. But let's say that the PMI, the mortgage insurance on a $300,000 loan, it's about, so for an example, PMI example, if you have a credit score of 620, so in America we have credit score too, depending on how good you are, you have, so between 600 and 850. The higher your credit score, the lower in mortgage rates and things like that. But if your credit score is 620 and make a 5% down payment, that will result in a 95% loan to mortgage rate to debt thing, and the annual premium cost will be 1.42% of the loan value. This gets very complicated, but for a $300,000 home, in the end, that equals to $4,447 a year extra on top of your loan. So you will be paying $337 extra per month for your mortgage loan if you have not put down 20%. In Sweden, a down payment is 15%, so on house value of $344,000, and the down payment is $51,700. There is closing costs, and they can vary in America from state to state, but they're usually between 3 to 6% of what you buy the house for. In Sweden, you pay 1.5% of the purchase for the title deed and 2% for the mortgage deed that is not already under one. So if you buy a house that already have some percentage under a mortgage deed, if the house is already mortgaged, you wouldn't have to pay that percentage for that, but you will have to pay for the title deed and stuff. So with all this number, let's put it together and see what it would cost, the difference in America versus Sweden, for a monthly payment. So in America, a house loan of 318,951, and then you have the down payment of 63,790. A monthly payment on the loan would be $1,441. This is just for the mortgage loan. This is with the interest rate of 6.07%. And if you add the HOA, insurance, and property taxes on that, you would end up paying around $2,164 a month for that house. In Sweden, a house loan of $344,292 and a down payment of $56,334. A monthly payment on the loan would be $1,358 with the interest rate of 4.99%. And then if you add the insurance and property taxes on that, you would end up paying around $1,483. So this is if your house is not newly built house, because if the newly built house, you don't pay the property taxes. So in conclusion with this, living in America and on an average salary that is not much more than it is in Sweden, you will pay around $680 more a month for a house mortgage that is not as big as in Sweden. The grass is not always greener, so everything you see, you don't think about all the extra costs in between, like the property taxes, the insurance, all of that. Super expensive in America and makes you not have as much money. So think about that one next time you think about you want to move to America. I will see you in the next episode.